What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Gameball with your host, Matson Montilla. Today, we're going to be talking about two important things. First, obviously, the Super Bowl, and second, some NBA deadline moves, free agent moves, and trade acquisitions. But to start things off, let's look at the Super Bowl that's been very hyped up for the past couple of weeks, and honestly, the Super Bowl that many people wanted to see. Two high-powered teams, two quarterbacks with legacy-defining games coming up, two head coaches with the same storyline. Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Kansas City, San Francisco, a rematch of a Super Bowl from a few years ago. It's going to be a very enticing matchup, and my pick for this game is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs beating the San Francisco 49ers. The reason why is because the Kansas City Chiefs have the three keys to success to win a big game like this. They have the quarterback, they have the head coach, and they have the defense. To start things off, they have the quarterback. There's not much to say. Patrick Mahomes, whether you like him or not, is the greatest quarterback we've seen in a long time. He's already well on his way of being a top 5 quarterback of all time, and he's putting his name in the ring of becoming arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. Head coaching-wise, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, both offensive gurus, both top class. But Andy Reid, this is his 5th Super Bowl with Kansas City. He's looking to win his 3rd Super Bowl with the Chiefs this season. On top of that, he's a GL with his team. He's been with Patrick Mahomes his entire career. He's been with Travis Kelce for 7 seasons. The players that have been the key factors and the X factors for the Chiefs, Andy Reid has been coaching for who knows how long. Well, Kyle Shanahan, great offensive mind, I still don't give him the edge of being the best offensive mind in football like Reid. I think Andy Reid has that advantage. But also, Shanahan doesn't have the number of years of success and experience with his star guys like Andy Reid, coaching Brock Purdy for about a year and a half. Again, a year and a half is a long time, but if you were somebody for 6 years, you're obviously going to have a more connected feeling with them and know exactly what that player is thinking. And last but not least, offense wins games, defense wins championships. When you look at the defenses of both teams, one looks a lot better than the other on paper. That's the San Francisco 49ers. They have Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Fred Warner, Travarius Ward. They have the names. They have the Madden ratings, right? They have all there is to the flashy on paper look, but then their performance is showing that they are just a bunch of just guys out there as of late, having allowed an insane amount of rushing yards against them to players like Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, having allowed 21 points to the Packers and 31 points to the Lions. Yes, those are talented teams, but if you're supposed to be the best defense in your conference, arguably the best defense in the entire NFL, that shouldn't fly. 31 points against the Lions should not happen. Kansas City. Yeah, people might look and say, oh, I know Chris Jones, but they might not know Nick Bolton or Trent McDuffie or L'Jarius Sneed, but they are a lot better. They've been clicking all season, and they're firing on all cylinders when it matters most, the playoffs, allowing 7 points to the Dolphins, 24 points to the Bills, and then 10 points to the Baltimore Ravens, who had a 2-time MVP at quarterback. They also have a great defensive-minded coach in Steve Spagnuolo as a coordinator. So the Chiefs should be your pick to win the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers because they have the advantage in the 3 areas that you need the advantage the most in. Quarterback, Mahomes, way better than Brock Purdy. Andy Reid, a better head coach than Kyle Shanahan. More years of experience, more years of success, offensive-minded, a better click with his quarterback, his tight end, and his best players on the field than what Shanahan has. And the Chiefs have the better defense and arguably the best defense in the NFL and definitely the best defense in the NFL as of late because they are firing on all cylinders, having allowed 7, 24, and 10 points in the 3 playoff games they've had against 3 of the best offenses we've seen. You can say what you want about Tua, but they had the best wide receiver in the NFL with Tyreek Hill, and they stopped him. You can say what you want about the Bills, but Josh Allen is easily one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Stephon Diggs is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and they held him to 24 points at Buffalo. And last but not least, The two-time MVP, Lamar Jackson, couldn't get anything going against his Chiefs team, only scoring 10 points in the loss in the AFC Championship. So you should pick the Kansas City Chiefs if you want to make the right decision about who's going to win the Super Bowl. The next thing I want to talk about is Patrick Mahomes' legacy. Entering this game, he's going to be in his 5th Super Bowl of his entire career, his very young career, having won the division every season he's been a starter at Kansas City. With a win here, it'll be his 3rd championship in his very young career. Very big accomplishments. Very hard accomplishments. It's hard to get there, even. And in my opinion, this is a very big make or break moment for Mahomes and his legacy. Because if he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year and he goes 2 for 5, it's hard to imagine him going and winning and eclipsing Tom Brady in the chase of 7 rings. It's even hard for me to think about, is it possible for him to even eclipse Joe Montana and his 4 championships? It's not a discredit to Mahomes. It's just a tip of the cap to those 2 all-time greats, but also to how great the league is year in and year out. Joe Montana having to win in a tough NFC, having to win in a tough league. I guarantee you nobody then said, oh, it's possible for him to win 4 Super Bowls, but yet he did it. Tom Brady, nearly an impossible task. Going to the Super Bowl 10 times, winning it 7 times is impossible. That's so hard. Phillip Rivers in that conference, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, having to face Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of dudes there, a lot of talented players. And again, nobody thought he was able to do it because who in their right mind believes that? I mean, that's an impossible task. And in my opinion, you look at the AFC now, you look at his own division now, it's going to get a lot harder. If he wins this Super Bowl, I could see him winning a 4th, right? I could see him winning 1 more Super Bowl. But having to win 2 more, that's hard. Having to win 4 more, even if he wins this one, is even more unfathomable. But I think it's that important to win it this year because you're here now. You don't know when you're going to get back. So go out there and win it because it's only going to become harder and harder. Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, C.J. Stroud in Houston, 2 young gun quarterbacks in the AFC South. Then you look at the broad scheme of things. 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. The Bengals with Joe Burrow look amazing. Josh Allen and the Bills. Look at his own division even. Justin Herbert is teaming up with Jim Harbaugh. Who knows what that has in store? Could be a lot of excitement on that team. The Broncos, a team that will never stop trying to become great. And when you have teams like that who aren't just willing to roll over and accept their fate, it makes it that much harder. So this Super Bowl is very important to Mahomes' legacy because if he doesn't go out there and win his 3rd Super Bowl in 5 tries, it's hard to imagine, not because he's not good, but just because of how great this conference is. It's hard to imagine, can he go out there and go, if he loses, go out there in general, even if he wins 5 more times or so Super Bowl, and then on top of that, win it 5 more times in 5 tries? Or does he have to go out there 6 or 7 more times and win 5 more? It's just a lot of numbers, a lot of hard things to look at. And that's what made Brady so great, his longevity and success, having 2 careers in 1. So this Super Bowl is important for Mahomes because if he can't win it this year and have 3 and 5 tries, it's just really hard to think about the idea of him being able to go out there and keep winning more and more and more in a tough conference. Heck, he's probably going to prove me wrong, and I'm not doubting him. It's just the fact that it's hard to make the Super Bowl that many times, and it's harder to win it that many times. A matchup in the Super Bowl that I haven't heard be spoken about once is a matchup of Travis Kelce going against Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, 2 of the best linebackers in the entire NFL, arguably the best linebacker duo in the entire NFL. If they're not the best, they are definitely number 2 behind Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. The players are capable of bringing the heat off the edge, getting tackled for losses, but also dropping back in coverage and eliminating either a player or a zone. And who are they most likely going to have to try and stop in the passing game? Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, a top 2 tight end of all time. Mahomes' favorite target since he's been in the league. And this game might ultimately be decided by who wins this matchup. Because if you're able to eliminate Travis Kelce Mahomes' best friend on the field, best option on the field, his security blanket, safety blanket, somebody he can always turn to. If you can remove him from the game and make other players beat you at the receiving core, that might just be the answer to all the problems of the San Francisco 49ers defensively, of how they can stop Patrick Mahomes. Because he has to turn to players like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who I love. I like him. He's great for one huge play. Rashee Rice, I think he's awesome. He's young. He's amazing. Like a great rookie. But when those are the guys you have to turn to in the biggest moments of a game, it's just a little scary. It's a little uncertain. So if they can eliminate Travis Kelce, well, that makes it that much harder for the Kansas City Chiefs to get anything going throughout the game. Maybe it's 3rd and 8. Who are you going to turn to now? Or 1st and goal. Who are you going to pass to? Who's your go-to? And then on the other hand, if Travis Kelce is able to become free and still make plays against Fred Warner and Jay Greenlaw, break a zone, or get by in the man-to-man coverage and have a few bigger plays, well, then that opens up the entire offense because more attention will be brought upon Kelce, leaving Rashee, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, either one-on-one coverage or a blown play happens and they're open, and allows them to not be the main focus point of their guys covering them. Because if Fred Warner and Greenlaw aren't enough, they need to bring other secondary players to help try and stop Kelce. But if they are enough, well, then that coverage is able to still hold strong against the likes of Rashee and MVS and Justin Watson. So, at the end of the day, if the San Francisco 49ers want to stop Patrick Mahomes and this offense, the first thing they need to do is eliminate Travis Kelce. Because when you eliminate Travis Kelce, you obviously take away their number one option. You also take away the security that Mahomes feels with Travis Kelce. But you also are able to cause issues and really make Rashee Rice and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Justin Watson have to beat you. Because there isn't going to be a blown coverage because they don't have to bring extra men onto Kelce. Or there won't be a man-to-man press coverage where MVS can just blow by you and there's no back-end safety. Why? Because Warner and Greenlaw have removed Kelce from the game, allowing the other players to just play their role. Which, if they're allowed to play their role, that's a tough task to have to beat, even if you are one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in Patrick Mahomes. So step A of stopping the Chiefs' offense is going to be stopping number 87, Travis Kelce. That is my Super Bowl pick. Kansas City Chiefs beating the San Francisco 49ers because you can't bet against Mahomes and Reed in this defense. But if you want to try and stop them, you have to eliminate Travis Kelce from this game. And then that's also my take on Mahomes' legacy. A great quarterback. One of the best we've ever seen. You could say he's a top 5 quarterback we've ever seen, and I'd say, okay, I can get behind that. Maybe Joe Montana above him, Tom Brady above him. People can debate Manning's, other players. But I could see the argument of Mahomes being a top 5 quarterback of all time already. But if he really wants to be a top 2 and be the best ever, he has to win this year because it's only going to become harder. This conference is hard. His division is hard. And having three Super Bowls under your belt in 5 tries, it's going to give you some more wiggle room, some more relaxation to realize you don't have to keep winning every year. You want to, but if a bump becomes in the road, you can navigate it. But if you win 2 in 5 tries, it's hard to get back there. And it's hard to win more Super Bowls. You know, if you go back there like Brady, went 10 times, won 7 times. Having to win 5 in 5 tries, that's a hard task to do. 4 in 5 tries, hard, but wiggle room's available. So that's why I think this Super Bowl is very important, because if he's able to win it, there's some wiggle room for Mahomes to navigate with the Kansas City Chiefs and find ways to, if worst comes to worst, they lose an AFC championship, it's okay. Or if they lose a Super Bowl, it's okay. But if he doesn't win it this year, there's going to be less wiggle room, having to execute more often. The goal isn't to have wiggle room, but the goal is saying it's hard to win in this league, and you need to win when you have the opportunity to do so. As I alluded to earlier, there are going to be a few trades in the NBA and free agent acquisitions that I wanted to speak about. Now, the NBA trade deadline was flooded with a lot of moves, and I want to do a more in-depth look at all those moves in a later episode. But today there are a few key moves that I want to speak about, namely some signings and some trades that I think are worthy of being spoken about. The first one I want to talk about is the underrated moves of the Boston Celtics, acquiring Xavier Tillman from the Memphis Grizzlies and Jaden Springer from the Philadelphia 76ers. Both under-the-radar moves. What did they trade away? A bunch of second-round picks. Things that aren't really noteworthy. But the players they brought in are very noteworthy. Why? Because they fill the biggest needs of the Boston Celtics. The Celtics didn't need a superstar player because they have already the best starting five in the NBA. But what they did need is some specialized players. And they got exactly the two players in those specialty groups that they needed. A big man who's willing to do the dirty work, and a guard who's able to defend. Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, talented players, can score from every level, lanky players, can get some blocks, great bigs. But they aren't gritty work players, in my opinion. Porzingis hangs out around the three-point line, can cut in and get a dunk or a layup or a putback, yes, but his forte is in the paint. Same can be said for Al Horford. On top of that, Horford's getting a little bit older. You look at their backups, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, replicas of those players, guys who can stretch the floor. Aren't necessarily gritty guys who can get a board and score inside. Xavier Tillman is just that. Xavier Tillman can fight inside, get some rebounds, get some offensive boards, have some putbacks, hang around in the paint. And that's exactly what the Celtics need. Is he going to start? No. Should he start? No. But should he get 15, 20 minutes a game? Yes. Does he provide a new wrinkle, a new element to this team? Yes, he does. So Xavier Tillman might be an underrated move because it's not a flashy name. But what he is a gritty player who fits the mold and the identity of what the Celtics needed to have filled. Same with Jaden Springer. Is he a flashy name? No, he's not. He's not a flashy name. Nobody even probably remembered who he was. Tennessee legend. Great player at UT. First round pick. Kind of got buried on the Philadelphia depth chart. But what does he excel at? Defense. He's a great perimeter defender. He's awesome. And you look at the guards that the Celtics have. Jrue Holiday, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard. Jrue Holiday, lockdown defender. Derek White, capable of being a defender. Peyton Pritchard, a scorer. And let's say you're playing a game where you need defense to go out there and execute. You put Peyton Pritchard in there to give Derek White or Jrue Holiday a breather. Well, then that guard front becomes worse at defense because Pritchard isn't a great defender. Obviously, with White and Holiday out there, it's good, but one of those guys have to come out at some point. You put Pritchard in there, and the wheels fall off the wagon. Now, if you insert Jaden Springer in there in a defensive matchup, well, you are A-okay right there. He can hold his weight, he can hold his water, and be a perfect fill-in for a guy like Derek White and Jrue Holiday, performing just as high of a level as those other two players. Heck, I'm even willing to say that if you need to have a Peyton Pritchard and a Jaden Springer duo out there, maybe going against a bench rotation, Springer is that great defender who can come out there and still hold his weight if there's one dominant, interesting guard and one who's kind of iffy. You put Pritchard on the iffy guard, and you put Jaden Springer on their best man on the court at that guard position, and he's able to lock him down. So again, not flashy moves, but needed moves by the Boston Celtics to acquire two players that fit the mold in the identity of the two groups that the Boston Celtics needed filled so badly, which is a gritty, get in the paint, rebounding machine in Xavier Tillman who can get some offensive boards, he can get some putbacks, and he's not just going to be out there to stretch the court like an Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis. Jaden Springer, a great backup defender, a guy who will get some minutes on this team, a guy who specializes in an area that the Celtics needed. Because when Derek White and Drew Holiday out there, the defense is strong, the offense is strong. But let's say you're in a defensive matchup and you have to pull one of those guys out because they need rest. Put Peyton Pritchard out there, and he's cooked. He's not a good defender at all. You put Springer out there, and it's like the team never skipped a beat defensively because he's just that good. Now, let's say it's an offensive explosion. Defense isn't really necessary. You can take Springer out. Doesn't need to play at all. You put Peyton Pritchard in there. Team does not skip a beat because they have offense going with Peyton Pritchard and whoever their other guard is, like a Drew Holiday or Derek White. They filled the two needs they needed filled the most by trading away a bunch of second-round picks. A-plus deadline for the Boston Celtics. The first free agent acquisition in the buyout market I want to speak about is Spencer Dinwiddie to the Los Angeles Lakers. And this move can either be really interesting or just another move to put on the Lakers of not panning out. If it's going to be option B of a move that's not going to be panning out, he's going to be slotted into the backup rotation. He's not going to be able to shoot well, being a low-end three-point shooter in his entire career. He's not going to be able to facilitate and move the ball well because there's no one to facilitate in that second offense or that second unit. Austin Reeves, Teron Prince, Jackson Hayes. These aren't players that you can just dish the ball out to and it's a guaranteed make. Or it could be option A. And option A is the interesting move. If Spencer Dinwiddie gets moved up to becoming a starting player on the Los Angeles Lakers. Because what are the two things that the Lakers need? They need a facilitator on offense, and they need somebody who can shoot the three ball. What can Spencer Dinwiddie do well? He can facilitate an offense. He's a great passer of the ball. He knows how to get the ball to the star players. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. What's something that Spencer Dinwiddie loves to do? Pick and roll. Well, he has a perfect pick and roll buddy in Anthony Davis. And the second thing that Dinwiddie is very good at doing, based on who he's around, is actually shooting. I know I said it. He's a 33% three-point shooter in his entire career. Not good numbers by any means, especially for a team that is desperate for three-point shooting. But what were his best two seasons from behind the arc? The 2 years with the Dallas Mavericks, where he shot over 40% from behind the arc in both seasons. Who did Dinwiddie have on the Mavericks that he didn't have anywhere else in his tenure? A very talented player by the name of Luka Doncic. When he's around a talented player, less coverage is brought upon him. Less coverage, more open shots. More open shots, easier they are to make. More threes flooding in. Who does he have in the Lakers? LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Who's going to attract all the attention? LeBron James and Anthony Davis. What's that going to do? It's going to leave Spencer Dinwiddie open from behind the arc. So if the Lakers want to make this move worthwhile, move Dinwiddie to the starting lineup, drop Sonny from the starting lineup to the bench unit, and have two starting caliber players in that bench unit, and Austin Reeves, or the Rui Hachimura, or a D'Angelo Russell with an Austin Reeves. There's moves that can be made around this lineup. And if the Lakers want to make this move worthwhile, you put Dinwiddie in the starting rotation because he can facilitate the offense and shoot the ball well. Then you drop a Rui or a Teron Prince or an Austin Reeves or a D'Lo, two of those four players, and the bench rotation, and boom, there's some magic happening in LA. The second move I want to speak about that was in the buyout market was Kyle Lowry being bought out by the Charlotte Hornets and signing back home with the Philadelphia 76ers, a native of Philly, being from Villanova, an experienced vet who won the NBA Finals, who's had a ton of success on the Miami Heat, a player that's just had a great career. Now he's going back to Philly, his hometown, reuniting with the city, reuniting with Nick Nurse, and joining a young point guard in Tyrese Maxey. This is an A+++ move by the Philadelphia 76ers and an awesome homecoming for Kyle Lowry. Why is this a great move by the Philadelphia 76ers? It's a great move for 3 reasons. Reason 1, Nick Nurse and Kyle Lowry have had a great relationship with one another. Nick Nurse coaching Kyle Lowry in Toronto. He was the head coach of Kyle Lowry when they won the NBA Finals. Kyle Lowry has a DNA of not only being able to win the playoffs and have success, but being able to win the playoffs, have success with the current head coach of Philadelphia, with Nick Nurse. By having that perfect culture and that DNA already aligned with Nick Nurse, already having a lot of success and being able to become a voice in the locker room, that's going to help elevate this team because it's going to be able to get the point across from a coaching standpoint, but also from a peer player standpoint in Kyle Lowry. What's the second reason why I like this move? It's he's reuniting in Philadelphia, the place where it's his home. And when you go back to your home, typically you'd perform a lot better. Being back at his home in Philly, I think Kyle Lowry is going to be able to not become what he once was in Toronto, but become what he used to be in Miami. A player who can give you some good points, give you some great minutes. A guy who can actually hit some open looks. I think it's going to help him be able to elevate because he's going to feel at home because he is at home. And what is the third reason why I like this move? Because he's able to be the calming voice in Tyrese Maxey's ear. As of late, Maxey has looked a little out of it, playing a little too exciting with the ball. It's hard to become a number one and be thrust into that situation. I think Maxey has capability of being able to lead this team with Joel Embiid out, but he needs to take a deep breath. And who can teach you to take a deep breath? A veteran guard who's done it as well in Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's going to be able to come in there and help Maxey work out the grooves, take a deep breath, and become the best version of himself. So this is an A-plus move by Philly because Lowry is going to preach what Nick Nurse is trying to speak about in the locker room, spread that culture. He's going to reunite in his hometown and be in his home and become a better version of himself because when you're at home, you're a lot more relaxed. And 3, he's going to be the calming voice in Maxey's ear, helping him take a deep breath and realize we don't need to play so out of control. We are A-okay. So overall, the 4 things that I want you to learn about from this episode is the Kansas City Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl. The Boston Celtics made great moves. The Lakers have something interesting brewing with Spencer Dinwiddie and their entire team. And Kyle Lowry going back to Philly was a great acquisition.